Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Quotient Creator Series Round 2. My name is Victoria Nino, and I'm a sales director here at Quotient, covering the influencer and social media department. I also happen to be an influencer content creator myself. I use my platform to advocate for women going through infertility and pregnancy loss. Becoming an influencer actually happened to me by accident. I was so tired of feeling sad and shameful and all alone. So one day I decided to shout it from the rooftops that I was infertile through a personal blog. And I started getting messages from all kinds of women saying, me too. Women I knew, women I didn't know. And ever since that day, I never stopped sharing my story publicly. I realized that I had a greater purpose than to just heal myself through my writing. I had to help other women heal too. My hope is that I can help be a part of normalizing third-party reproduction and bring light to the struggle that many women go through behind closed doors, yet still show up to work and social events with smiles on our faces. I actually had my feet in stirrups this morning, yet here I am. With that being said, I'm so excited to host the second installment of the Quotient Creator Series. If you missed the first one, make sure to check out last month's conversation highlighting Black excellence, where my amazing coworker Jasmine sat down with 4 Black creators and spoke about both the challenges and the opportunities of being part of an underrepresented demographic within the influencer space. While there is still progress to be made to create a more equitable industry, we're proud to take these steps in providing a platform for all of our creators to share important insight and speak their truths. The Quotient Creator Series was built to highlight not just our creators' professional experiences, but also allow them to share personal stories, give advice, and embrace their true selves. This month, we're celebrating Women's Month, a topic that is obviously near and dear to my heart. And today, I have the pleasure of speaking with 4 trailblazing female creators from our network. We're covering topics ranging stereotypes of being a female influencer, the pressure to show up certain ways on social media, and how the social community can empower and champion women as content creators and entrepreneurs. So let's get to it. So first, I'd love to hear from each of you on how long you've been a content creator and the type of content you create. So Gabby, I'll have you go first if you don't mind.
Yeah, of course. Hi, everyone. I'm Gabby LePage. I have been creating content for almost 12 years now, which feels like a really long time when I was looking at the year this morning. I love creating content around traveling, entertaining. I'm a new homeowner, so I've got my cute little shotgun house that I'm currently decking out, so new home content is coming. And also reading. I have been a lifetime avid reader thanks to my wonderful mother, and I have just incorporated a lot of bookish content and also writing, as I am working on a manuscript right now.
Oh, congratulations on many levels. That's exciting. Awesome. Tosh, we'll have you go next.
Awesome. I'm Tosh. I have been a photographer for 12 years, weddings and portraits. And during the pandemic, right before the pandemic, I had my second daughter and launched a blog as a love letter to my kids. I got really, really sick and wasn't supposed to have that baby. So I just really wanted to have a place where I could kind of show up for them. Like if anything were to happen to me, like they would know how I felt about them and how much I love them. And that just came from my own upbringing in foster care. So I just really am drawn to moments and things like that. Well, my love letter to my kids turned into something that other people were really interested in. And begrudgingly, I jumped into the influencer world. And so I've been creating content as an influencer since late 2019. And my content focuses on obviously motherhood. I have 3 daughters in 3 different phases of life: a new baby, a toddler, and then a school-age child. We talk about Black family travel and just normalizing Black luxury, Black joy. And then I focus on entrepreneurship and just what it's like to be a work-at-home, stay-at-home mom. Because I think a lot of people think that if you stay at home, you're just like doing all the mom things, but being a work-at-home mom comes with its own challenges and its own opportunities. And so I just like to show like a real uncurated version of someone going after it while also being deeply connected to raising my children and giving them the best possible life that I can give them. So those are what you will find on my page.
So I've already cried. We're what, 2 minutes in? I was really trying to hold back when you were talking about your your babies and your letters. And I just adore you. And thank you for all the work that you're doing. I went from crying to like, yes, like you just got me fired up too. So thank you for being here. Gabby, we'll have you go next.
I already went.
Oh, I'm sorry. Salima, I'm so sorry. I'm looking at Salima saying Gabby.
So my name is Salima Ben Khalti, and I first got into content creation really just creating for myself. I was a teacher. I was teaching second grade, and I started a food blog just to kind of record family recipes. Since I moved away from home, I was really missing that home cooked food. And I sort of fell into content creation just by trying to make money with it. I moved away from teaching and started a business as a private chef, and I did that for a few years. And then I was also working with a ghee company. They were making clarified butter in Oregon, and I was just working there part-time just to kind of make ends meet once I left teaching. And they found my blog and ended up hiring me to start creating content for their brand and developing recipes. And so 5 years later, I'm still doing that for different clients, and I just completely fell in love.
That's amazing. That's awesome. Thank you. And Molly, last but not least.
Yeah. Hey, everyone. I'm Molly, and I blog about intentional living. So I started my blog 6.5 years ago, which I was thinking was so long. And then I hear y'all have been doing it for 12 years, which is so crazy. But really just kind of started it because I felt like there was a need on the internet just for sharing more joy in a really genuine and passionate way, just doing everyday life. And then it kind of, as my life evolved, I am really involved in a lot of things. I realized I was kind of on a fast track to burnout, and I've realized that less is more. And so that's the approach that I take with my life. And then my content has kind of turned and transitioned into that too, which is how I kind of evolved into intentional living. And so talk a lot about attainable and practical tips with wellness and how a capsule wardrobe has actually really kind of changed everything for me. And all these really simplistic living tips have really just added to my overall quality of life. So that's what I talk about.
Love that. That's beautiful. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. So where do we start? Well, I think there's no question that female influencers are constantly judged, right? And in my opinion, I think we're still the most influential voices when it comes to purchase power, at the very least. And so I think maybe we start the conversation with your experiences or your feelings around stereotypes and the way women are viewed in social media. So my first question, and feel free to jump in if anyone feels strongly they want to go first. What stereotypes or labels do you feel people have about women in the influencer space?
I can go first.
Great.
I feel like, and I think everyone would probably agree, I think no one sees it as a real job. I don't think anyone understands that when you're a content creator, we're all wearing a majority of hats. It's not just a photographer hat, but it's also the manager hat. Sometimes you're wearing a lawyer hat, you're wearing the copywriter hat, and you're wearing all these different things. And so when you say you're a content creator, no one really understands what all it means. And someone who isn't willing to understand, they just see that they think you're only taking like funny, silly pictures. And I just feel like there's a lack of understanding for what we do. And so because of it, there's just a lack of respect, I think, for female influencers. And I think with that lack of respect, there's also just a lack of a lot of people wanting to understand what we do, which is really frustrating too. I think they just see the fun and amazing photos and the things that we create, and they're just like, oh, well, I could do that. And it's like, okay, well, then why don't you? Like, you couldn't do it. There's so much more that goes into it. Like, if you could do it, then you would be doing it, and you're not doing it. So I think there's just a lack of respect and a lack of understanding when it comes to the industry.
Well said. Very well said.
I feel like to add to that, I feel like women who are on social media that have large platforms, like there's this idea that we're after attention or that we want to be like in the spotlight or want to be famous. And there's never like, no one ever leads with, I want to show up and help people. I want to invest in other people's lives. I want to be like a resource. And so I feel like my friends who don't understand social media or don't understand like the concept of monetizing your platform, they think that I'm doing it because I need a lot of attention when I actually care about the people that are following me. And it has very little to do with that at all,
I
actually.
love that resonates with me because I speak about like something that's pretty painful for most people. And I've even cried, publicly, right, to help people heal. Not because I'm like, oh, feel bad for me, feel sad for me. It's, I want to normalize this and show people that it's okay to be sad. It's okay to break down, and reach those people that are out there who are struggling privately.
Yeah.
I totally agree, Tosh.
And I don't feel that like, and not to, I don't know, like our counterparts, like men, they never have to like explain why they're doing something or why they're sharing something. They don't ever have to justify why they're showing up in a room and
Right.
being boisterous or confident. But I think women are like expected to be small or to be more mindful about how they show up to a space. And so I just feel like, well, dang, why do I have to take down? Like, why can't I be confident in what I'm sharing without it being like attention seeking in some way?
Right. Have any of you guys felt like personally judged, or I don't want to say hated on, but maybe let's say that like someone came at you, publicly or privately? Have any of you experienced that?
I think sometimes with friends who maybe don't necessarily realize when they say something that can be a little, I don't want to say offensive, but sometimes offensive and sometimes belittling, where I feel like this was happening more so when I was first starting out, when I would go and take some photos first, before you eat or before you do certain things because you're documenting.
Sure.
And after that, it was like, oh, no one touched food. Gabby has to take her photos. And it was a little frustrating because Tosh, like you were saying about monetizing your content and platform, they didn't necessarily understand that. And so now I'm in a good group where they all understand more so what I do. And so it feels much more fluid and comfortable, but that could be a little frustrating when it was happening because those were in the earlier years and I was much more nervous at those times. So it's changed a little bit, which has felt good.
Yeah. I think we can all raise our hand and say our friends have said, oh, we got to take a picture,
Or when you don't want to be on and your
Right.
friends are expecting you to be on and they're like, no, you take the picture, Gabby, or you take the picture, Tosh, because you're the one. And I was like, wait a minute, I take terrible pictures too. Like,
Right.
or no, I just want to eat my food when it comes to the table too. I don't actually want to capture this. Or I
Right.
don't actually want to show this hotel room or make content or do whatever.
Yeah. I have friends that just don't even take their cameras out if I'm around because they're like, Victoria will do it. And I'm like, no, I don't want to. Like, I'm actually on vacation right now,
Yeah.
Don't you find you're left out of so many photographs because you're the one
Yes.
that kind of slapped with the phone? I'm like,
Right.
oh, all my friends having these great memories and I'm not in the
You're just in the selfies. That's it.
Yeah.
Like one arm. Yeah.
like a chaperone.
You ladies find that it's helpful to find a group of not necessarily influencers, but just people who are in the same space. Because for me, I don't find that I've fixed the problem of people not really getting it, but it just has helped so much to find a group of other photographers and food bloggers who get it. And I can really like go to them for those conversations to feel validated.
Yeah, that's a great point. Like I just had a conversation with a friend of mine who's also an influencer, and she was feeling really down about some of our real friends, like our personal and real life friends that weren't supporting her. And she was just like, they don't comment, they don't like my stuff, they don't ever acknowledge what I do. And I said to her, I said, but that's not for them, right? Like you kind of almost have to bucket your friends, right? Like she has me because I get it. I understand that. I had to go through that too. In the beginning, when you start off and you're like, this feels like a weird, awkward thing between the people that know me. And now these people that don't know me feel like I actually am closer to them in some way. Like they're sending messages like that they care for me and they're praying for my family, and or my other friends aren't even acknowledging that I just announced to the world that I lost a baby, right?
We
So it's like
literally
this
just had this
weird
conversation because it's like they're watching everything, and it's like you're telling them and coaching them through like exactly what you need to be supported, and still they refuse to do it, but they're like your actual friends. That's such a weird like dichotomy.
I don't get it. I don't get it. But the way I don't know if you guys have advice, but the way I just try to compartmentalize, like they're going to be there. Like if I texted them directly and said, hey, I need you, they'd show up. But for some reason on social media, they just ghost, right?
And I think it helps to remind ourselves that they also have their own world with their careers and whatever it is that they're doing in their individual lives. And we may not be able to support them as much as we would like to because we just have that same understanding. So it is helpful to kind of separate it a little bit and try not to take it as personal, even though what we share in our careers does feel very personal sometimes.
Yeah.
I didn't realize this was going to be a therapy session, but I feel like you guys just solved like a whole thing that I had a conversation about a couple days ago. Like, why are y'all watching and not saying anything?
Yeah.
So thank you for this. This is awesome.
Anytime I'm involved, we're talking therapy. We're gonna go there. I love it.
I'm also glad to know that like it's not exclusive to me. And that these are actual like real like across the board concerns. And I'm sure people watching this are like, wait a minute, they're dealing with that too. This is awesome. I'm not alone.
Great point. Look, I didn't even think we were going to talk about this either, but you're right. You are not alone if you're feeling this way.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about the pressure, right? Like there's this degree of pressure to show up in a certain way on social media, whether that be to look a certain way, to have a certain vibe. Like, how do you combat that as a female creator?
I found, and I'm not sure if I feel like this might be a pretty general experience, but I found that when I was, for example, sharing stories on Instagram, I would say, oh, sorry, I like didn't do my hair today, or like things like that, where I was almost apologizing or acknowledging it. And I thought to myself, I was like, why am I doing that? I'm showing up as I am. And that is just something I keep in the back of my mind because I felt the pressure to be more like show up in a perfect sense, and that's not what we can do as humans. And so I try to keep that in mind that, I'm just showing up how I am today. So if you see in my real life, this is what I look like right now. This is what you're going to get on social media. And it's almost more so a thing that I need to constantly remind myself because it's really easy to get sucked into those kind of expectations.
It is. The filters alone are overwhelming. It's like, oh, I gotta look 10 years younger, or my skin doesn't look pretty today, I totally feel that.
I think for me, it's been less of the pressure to like show up and look a certain way or have like our home look a certain aesthetic, because it's like it just doesn't. Like I'm never going to be the kind of person who always shows up with my hair or my makeup done. Like this will probably be the only day that I have makeup on this week. And like, that's just who I am. And I'm so comfortable with that. Like, honestly, I love that about myself. Like I'm just very low maintenance. Like we live in a very small house and like our apartment. And like, I love that about us too. It's like, we're so content with all that. But I think for me, like the pressure settles in with like, I feel like as a content creator, there's this expectation to always have something exciting to share, whether it's like you're always traveling somewhere new, or you're always buying a new product and you have that to show, or there's always like a new coffee shop that you're going to have something to always constantly be posting on your stories. And as I've like settled into this like rhythm of just consistency, and I love it, but like my days kind of always look the same. And like I got to a point a few months ago where I was like, I don't really have that much to be sharing consistently on my stories anymore. And I feel this pressure just to constantly be doing something new in order to like churn out all of this stuff on my stories. And there's just this constant pressure to always like create and have things to share. And so I'm working on combating the pressure to like just always be doing something exciting, because people love like the excitement, I think, of creators, like I feel like at least I've seen with people I follow, it's like the engagement spikes when you get married or you buy a home or you announce something that's like dramatic and big, whether you're pregnant or something else. It's like people crave like the excitement and they're living through that. And so it's like when there isn't that, for me, it's like, how do I combat that? So I haven't really come to a solution, but I think it's just trying to figure that out, if that makes sense.
Definitely. Yeah. I mean, there's days where I'm like, can I just post a picture of my daughter just because she's cute? Or do I need to tell the world something important,
Yeah.
I get it.
I think especially with quarantine and everyone being home for like that period of time, the amount of time we were spending on our phones and on social media definitely increased drastically. And so I definitely relate to Molly with that, with just feeling like I was having to show up every single day and have something exciting and new to share all the time. And with coming out of that and trying to like reprioritize what's important and find something more manageable, definitely I think for me showing up with more intention and not feeling the pressure to post every single day to my story or even to my feed every single day. Like I'm only posting when I have something valuable to share, and not beating myself up about it. And sometimes, yeah, it does mean I lose a few followers, but I know I'm gonna feel more authentic sharing something that is a value that speaks to who I am as a person than just sharing just to share.
Yeah, I love that. It's nice to have a rule for yourself, like don't post unless you feel it, because don't force it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Tosh, what are your thoughts?
I resonate with so much of this. I've had a lot of life changes over the last 2 years. I had a baby right before the pandemic, had a baby during the pandemic. So I definitely have seen like those ebbs and flows. And then as a travel blogger, of course, like everyone is like in it. And then the next week I have like, can't even get views on my stories. You're just like, what's happening, And what I've tried to do is just remember that my goal is just to be consistent and to show up and to show up as a real person, because the reality of the situation is that we are not doing really exciting, amazing things all the time. And most of the people who are following us are just regular, everyday people that are just finding their way through life. And so I just think there's a lot of really great opportunity to show, like, even though there are these like high moments in my life, like I live a really regular life, just like I'm like you, Molly, like my days are exactly the same. It's like Groundhog's Day over here. And with the pandemic, I feel like I have to learn to almost be myself again because our lives have changed so much. And so here in Seattle, like we're just kind of easing back into like normal life. Like we're really slow behind the rest of the country. And so I don't even know how to go out and to be out again. It's like I have to learn how to do those things. And so I think sharing that and being honest about that. Like the other day, I was just like, as much as I love to travel and to have these adventures, like I really actually love being home and just being with my family and being boring. Like it's nice to, not boring, but it's nice to just not have to be doing something exhilarating and exciting, because most people aren't able to do that. And I think there's value in just living a good life at home, and also like paying homage to that as an influencer as well.
Right. Yeah. Well said. So
I try not to subscribe to pressure. I'm always just like, nah, we're not doing that. No, I'm not signing up for that one.
I like that. Next time I feel pressured, I'm going to DM you and be like, remind me to unsubscribe.
Unsubscribe. We are not doing pressure. And also like, I just feel like our followers are showing up for us, not for like what we do or what we bring to the table or I mean, that's a part of it, but it's like they have fallen in love with us. And I think that has to be at the forefront. So I think whatever we decide is important is what will be important to the people that follow us, that are really following us,
I agree. No, that's well said. Thank you, Tosh. So I want you guys to each think about like when you first were starting out, your first blog post or whatever it was that you did. Now knowing what you know about the pressures, the stereotypes, the labels, like what is the advice that you would have given, like, young Gabby 10 years ago or 12 years ago or whatever?
I would have said, just do the thing. Like, it doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be tied up with a pretty little ribbon. Just get something up and out there. And I had been offering like photography for clients. And like I mentioned earlier, I've loved reading. I am just adoring writing. And so I think it kind of started as, oh, I just want to like write something. And it's funny now because it's almost coming full circle with like, I think I just want to write books and still work with my blog, which is really fun. But I would have just said, just do it. Don't spend all this time mulling over oh, is this perfect? Is this the right thing? Because if it goes up, it's going to be the right thing because it exists. So that's what I would tell myself back then.
I like it. Do the thing. Just do it.
Same.
Okay,
I would say
Selena.
done is better than perfect. Like just
Mhm.
you waste so much time waiting for it. And like a lot of people don't spend enough time on the thing anyway. So just like put it out and walk away.
Walk away. I like it.
Yeah, I agree. Like, I think I definitely struggle and have struggled with being a perfectionist, and that's just an ongoing struggle. I still am working on, checking sponsored posts 15 times before I get them and all of that. But yeah, just putting it out there and not being afraid to mess up, because that's part of the journey. That's how you're going to learn. Like, those mistakes are going to just teach you lessons. And then from there, you're going to be able to do it with more confidence moving forward.
Love it. Molly, you want to add anything?
Yeah, I definitely agree with that too. I'm also a perfectionist, so I feel like it took me a really long time to be like, okay, is my website ready to like publish it? Is my first blog good to go? And then to add to that, I really firmly believe that if you have an idea that you can't stop thinking about, like you were given that idea and that dream for a purpose, and someone needs to hear what you have to say. And so like you need to just do it, but it's for such a specific reason, and like it's not for yourself, it's for someone else. And so like if you're not doing that, then like that's a disservice to someone else, because someone needs to hear what you have to say. So I would just say if there's something like you can't stop thinking about, like I'm sure all of us just kept thinking about like our blog ideas, and then we kept giving ourselves excuses for why we couldn't do it. It's like, no, there is a reason why you can't stop thinking about that. So you need to do it. So that's what I would say.
I like that. I think we all kind of nodded our heads on that one, because I remember when I first had my thought of like coming out, about my infertility, I told a friend and she's like, why would you do that? Like no one really supported me in doing this, but I couldn't stop thinking about it. And I was like, I got to do it. And I'm so glad I did. But, you have to trust yourself and trust your gut feeling. Okay. So there's a lot of different people that are going to be watching this, and some of them are going to be creators, but some of them will be brand managers or just, everyday viewers. Like what do you think are some tips that you guys could give them to help best empower women?
I have one right off the bat that comes to mind. I have experience. So also in separate work life, I was in marketing and in PR firms. And so I've worked on both sides of brand campaigns. And as a creator talking to like brand managers, I just like want to push transparency. I've seen, over the years, the ebbs and flows of what that's looked like. And I think that it's such a good conversation that you can have when you're transparent. So to like really dig into it, I would love to see more folks emailing with like, hey, here's our budget, here's what we're thinking, like how can we work together to make something wonderful that is within like your wheelhouse, something you want to create, but also fits within this budget. Is that a possibility? So seeing things like that feel like a really just like open communication way to work together. So just more transparency is what I'm looking for.
I like that, because you probably like me, you get a lot of these emails and you don't respond to a lot of them sometimes because you're just like, well, I don't know. I mean, are you asking me to do this for free? What are you saying here? Like, what is this? Or it's a product that doesn't have, you're like, I would never, like, they don't know me,
Yeah, the expectation of, oh, you just do this all the time, you can do this for free is just so old. And it's, there are some projects that are really fun to work on for trade, right? I'm not saying that's, never, it's never, or always a no rather, but it's just more of that transparency and open communication, I think helps both sides feel better.
Yeah. Love that.
I think one thing that I really enjoy brands doing is leaving space for us to tell and speak to our audience the way that we speak to them on a daily basis. Like it's very normal for brands to have, like their set of buzzwords and like phrases they want you to use about their brand. But my favorite kind of partnerships, I think, are the ones where there's room for kind of like what Gabby was saying, for us to be creative and really do what we're experts at and show them how we can feature them in a way that also speaks to our audience, instead of just kind of regurgitating what they put out on their commercials or on their advertising.
Yes, totally agree. Tosh, were you going to say something?
Yeah, well, I love both of what you guys said. Like I could add to both of those. As a Black creator, a Black female creator, I love when brands are honest with me about what they have not done in terms of working with Black creators and how they want to do better and how they have spent time looking at my account and seeing how we can partner together to do that work. Um, I, I deal with this a lot where I feel very tokenized by brands, and I feel like I become like just another kind of checkbox, which is really like hard and unfortunate, but can also, it puts me in a place where I'm like, dang, I still need to feed my family. And that can be like a really hard place to live in. So I just would love for brands to be more mindful about how they approach like women of color or even Black women, especially since we're like such an underserved, undervalued creator in this market, and just like be honest about where they've like failed and how they want to do better. Because that makes it easier for me to like come alongside and to also feel good about working with that brand, even though I may go to their account and there may not be a single Black face or whatever, you know what I mean? Like that can be like really hard to present to my audience because they're also going to be doing that work too.
Yeah.
So
right.
I want to be able to stand behind whoever I'm working with and go, yes, I realize this, but this is the plan forward, or this is why they came to me, and this is why I feel good about doing this work.
That's so profound. Thank you. Thank you, Tosh. Molly, do you want to add anything?
Will you repeat the question? You cut out for a little bit. I don't know what happened with my internet. I'm assuming I can guess it, but I want to make sure I answer it correctly.
Sure. So just any tips that you would have to encourage, it sounds like we're talking mostly about brand managers, which I love, that this is the direction we're going.
I wasn't sure if it was for brands or for creators. That's where I wasn't.
I left it open, but I love that. I think this is great. This conversation is awesome. So if you could contribute.
I think generally speaking, I think there's a lot more room for women to keep supporting women. I feel like I've seen recently a lot more, and it's especially more on TikTok, I think, just a lot of negativity that I just don't like seeing just in comments. And it's a lot of women bashing other women, and I don't know what it comes from. And there's like no need for it. But I think especially as like creators, when we see other creators creating stuff, how many times can I say creator in that sentence? I just think it's up to us to like step up and support them, whether it's an ad or just like genuine content. I think it's up for us just to like raise that bar a little bit higher and encouraging them and supporting them in their content, because as we know, like it's not easy to put yourself out there, whether you're speaking about something that's really difficult, or it's just like you're doing something that you love. Like we should be encouraging people to keep doing more of that. And so I think as creators, it's up to us just to raise that bar and kind of set the standard of how we should be championing other women in the space.
I love that. I feel like we all need a group hug right now. That was good.
I would love that. I'm all for the group hug.
Yes, lift each other up, right? I love that.
That's so important though, because I think like you set that example, like Molly's saying, like when you support your friends or your other creatives in your space, that sets that example. They're gonna feel how good that is. And it also helps to foster relationships, right? Like you start to build real friendships with people. And that can be another way to feel more empowered in the space as well. Just feeling like you have a group of people who get it and respect it.
Yeah.
I honestly cannot wait to get off of this call so that I can go follow all of you. I'm so excited to like get to know your content and to support you moving forward.
Look, now we have our own support group, right? Like we have each other. We can do anything. So I have another question for you guys, another message you'd give to your audience, specifically to your female audience. If you could say one thing, what would you say?
You can live the life that you dream of. it may not be perfect and it may not be like the way that you think, but I think that we subscribe to these roles and these ways of doing things, and we don't always challenge them or ask ourselves why. And I don't feel like, I personally, as a creator, I don't feel like I'm doing anything that's that extraordinary. I think I believe in myself and I've decided like I want to live a certain kind of life and I'm going to do whatever I have to do to go for it. And I don't think that there's really any magical thing behind it. And I say that because there are a lot of women that follow me or other creators that are like, I just want to do that, but I don't know how, or I just want to do that and I can't see that for myself. And I think like we just started. I just started. I didn't know how either. And there's not a bunch of people running around passing out like the secret to influencing. And I don't think that there really is a secret. I think it's about connecting with your people and being clear on your message and like leaning in. So I just want to see more women decide like, actually, I don't want to do this anymore. Or actually, I do want to do this and I want to go for it. And I'm not going to allow what I have to do or who I have to take care of or who's falling behind me or what I've been told I can't do to stand in the way of that.
I love that. Like if you can see it, you can be it, right? Like, and women can see that in all of you. Like, I think I commend you all for what you do because you're giving other females the influence to, or the inspiration to be able to do this because they can see themselves in you. And we all have different types of content between the 5 of us here today. Right. And I think I remember like finding other blogs and voices that resonated with me. And I'm like, well, if they can do it, I can do it. Right. So now here we are today. And I hope that this message, what you just said, Tosh, can reach other women who are considering.
Go for it, start.
That's right. So, okay, our goal today was obviously to put women's voices into the spotlight. And so I'd love for you each to go around and just share one other female creator that you want to give a shout out to. This could be someone who has very few followers or millions of followers. It doesn't matter. They don't have to be famous. Just one person that you're like, they're doing really cool stuff, and I want to give them a shout out. So I can go first. So mine is Jamie Otis. If you don't follow her, she's out there all about body positivity. She shows all angles of her body, very raw photos of her face, of her in a bikini. Like she does not hold back. And her goal is truly to normalize, the unfiltered, the real. And so whenever I'm having a weak moment of my own body or self-image, I always go to her page and feel better about myself. And I've actually sent several women to her as well, because I think it's just nice to see that.
Can hop in next.
Right.
I would love to shout out actually a fellow Gabby, my friend Gabby and Becky, who is an educator and she's a poet. She is also an aspiring, she has self-published a book, but she's working on other manuscripts as well. But she shares just like these wonderful moments from her life that are very similar to like what you said, Victoria, unfiltered, and just feel like a really wonderful way to connect with her, whether you know her in person or not. We were friends back when I lived in Boston, and I just have loved following her career and all of the content that she shares. She's really wonderful.
Love it.
You can go next.
Oh, go for it.
Oh, no.
Go. I didn't know if
we were going popcorn style or not.
It's your turn.
I don't know her, but Jessie and Kirby is one of my favorite bloggers. Super, I feel like unfiltered is going to be a word that we're maybe all using. It's a common theme here.
It's a trend. It's a trend.
Yeah. Super intentional with her content, and she's actually said that by the end of this year she is stepping away from Instagram because she realized it wasn't serving her, and it's obviously a huge decision that she's made because she makes more than 50% of her income from the platform, but she just realized it wasn't doing anything great for her mental health, and so she's taking a step away and only doing her newsletter and her blog and YouTube, which I just think is super admirable, to be able to be like, okay, I know it's not serving my mental health, and my focus is my mental health and my family, and although it's great for my business, it's not great for me, and so I'm going to find other ways to still make my business work. And so I already loved her content, and now I think I just love her even more for
Yeah.
her prioritizing herself and her mental health. So she just talks a lot about like clean beauty and sustainability, and yeah, she's great.
That's bold and very inspirational. I love
Yeah.
that. Thank you.
My
Go ahead.
sorry. Mine really isn't like an influencer or anyone who's really like known in the mainstream, but it's actually my cousin. So my cousin, her name is Rita Bencalti, and we both come from a very, very similar background. Both of our dads immigrated here from Morocco, and then her mom is from Argentina, and my mom is from Puerto Rico. So I think we both grew up with a lot of pressure to follow like a traditional route as far as our professions go. And we both followed that route. You know, we went to college and got our degrees and found a traditional job. But seeing her break away from that, she started her own immigration firm in Vancouver, BC, and just kind of went in a very different direction, starting her own business. It just kind of gave me the courage to leave my conventional job and take a risk that I think I honestly would still be in my position in a job that it wasn't fulfilling for me. And so, yeah, that was the biggest like influence for me personally.
I love that. I think your story is now going to help others do what you did, right?
I hope so.
Love that.
I love it.
So mine would be a creator out of Haiti. Her name is Anne Marjorie. I'm half Haitian. I found out a couple years ago and started following like Haitian influencers just as a way to connect with this culture and this identity that I didn't have growing up. And Anne Marjorie creates content in Haiti. She's there right now. And her big thing is Black joy, because Haiti obviously like has been going through so much for so long. And one of the things that she mentioned recently was that there's so much pride in being resilient and being strong, but she doesn't want her pride to come from struggle. And so her account is about finding joy in like everyday things and also shining a light on a Haiti that people don't get to see because it's filtered through politics and filtered through what people have to gain from the island. I got the chance to go to Haiti in 2020, and I saw a Haiti that I have never known. And it is so absolutely beautiful. And it is just, it's a beautiful country with beautiful people and beautiful traditions. And I've learned so much about my heritage from following her, because she is there and she just presents Haiti in such a way that I don't think most people are aware of. And so I absolutely love like her storytelling, her pictures, and getting to grow and connect with this culture in this country through her page.
I love that. We're going to have to find a way to share all of these so everybody can capture not just you, but all the women we just highlighted too. Thank you. That was great. Okay, well, thank you, ladies. You guys are just badass. I'm so happy to know you, my new support group, my new friends. Thank you for sharing your experiences, for having an anonymous conversation. Like, I truly feel better now just from knowing you. So thank you for what you do. Thank you for all of you that are watching this and joining this chat. Be sure to check out these amazing women on their social media pages and check out their spotlight sections on the Quotient Creators website. And then stay tuned for our next roundtable discussion. Thank you, everyone. Talk to you guys soon.